Welcome to Tea Time with Amie and Bev.
Good
Yeah,
morning.
Bev and I are already on it. So we had to only got a few words out this morning. And I said, no, we got to stop talking because this is going to go somewhere. So this is how it works for us. Immediate, I mean, just hi, how are you? Just dives us right into a topic. And I just said, stop talking. I got to stop talking. You stop talking. We can't talk right now. Let me hit the record button. So this is the way it is. Well, welcome. If you're with us this in the morning, good morning, or whatever time it is for you. Thank you for your time, for being here with us. And how's it going, Bev?
It's going good, actually. I say it's going good right this minute. We always have those moments, really, because it's like I recognized some stuff this weekend that I've been doing. And I say this weekend, but it's probably been over a like a 4 or 5 day period. You just start noticing stuff within yourself, and I was noticing some regrets and stuff like that. So I've noticed my hair. My hair seems to be the first thing that's affected, because that's probably what's going to first get my attention. Like, oh shit, here we go again.
And
Because
what
I've
does
been
that
doing really
mean?
good.
What does that mean that your hair gets your attention? What happens?
Because it started, my hair's always been like very long and very thick. And probably in the last couple of years, there had been some thinning going on. And then it was like serious, like shedding, like I haven't done anything with it as far as coloring it or anything like that. So like stressing me out. So for me, that would stress me out. Then I start worrying about it more, because I'm human, and I have a habit that I've been doing my whole freaking life, and you don't realize how much you worry about shit. You just don't. Like, I'll be doing great, doing great, doing great, and I start catching myself in my thoughts or whatever. So the first indicator for me is the hair starts thinning. Well, lately it's been going through a process again, and it's like, so I go through my process and I'm asking. So last night, I'm going to bed last night, and I'm like, man, what does my hair want me to know? What does my scalp want me to know? What do I need to know about this? I mean, how can I move past this? Because I know it's bullshit. I know I'm not doing anything wrong. And I think that's the big thing that we need to remind ourselves. I've got to remind myself, because it's like when we're going through life and stuff, we don't realize how much we feel like we did so many things wrong, and we didn't. We have different perceptions. We have different tools. So when you look back on things, which also indicates that I'm in the past, if I'm going through that process. And I noticed that, and the first thing that started coming to my mind is like all these, like, for me at the time, it was these emotions or these regrets or whatever with Jim. So those things would start coming forward, and it's like realizing that how can I celebrate me in all the process and all the growth that I've had if I keep beating the shit out of myself for something I didn't do years ago? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How can I keep doing that? So it's a process of, first of all, for me recognizing it. And then I'm practicing what I preach. I want to see it from a higher perspective. Like, what is the higher perspective of this? And it's actually, I'm not living in the now. I'm not being right now. I'm getting caught up in that crap again. But it's also, then I look at it a different way. It's also a shedding. It's like a shedding of the old.
Mm.
So it's like this whole process of looking at everything and not being so stressed out when I look at this stuff that's happening, because it's temporary. Worst case scenario, I'm wearing wigs. Worst case scenario, you see my ass bald, and I'm going to stand proud, because the beauty is from within inside. It's not the outside stuff, but we get caught in the outside stuff, probably because people over years have been, oh, your hair is beautiful, this and that. It's part of your adornment, I guess, for your physical being. But it's not the most important. It's not. So for me, it's these last 4 or 5 days is recognizing what I'm doing and letting it go. Just letting it go. It's not for me to keep overthinking. I need to celebrate me right now. I can't celebrate me back then, because I feel like that person wasn't a very good person or wasn't good enough. And that's a bullshit story too. I was good. I was good enough. I did the best that I could then. I should be, I say should, but I could be, which is another one of those words, but celebrating myself more for how far I've come instead of what I've done wrong.
Yeah, I'll hit up on a couple things that yeah, for sure. You're doing what you knew how to do at that time in
Yeah.
in the past, and just so people understand that when you're talking about depression, depression has everything to do with past experiences, and anxiety has everything to do about worrying about future. So I just want to clarify that if you get into a depressed state, it's because you're focused on past events. And when our mind goes there, it's easy just to get sucked in deeper and deeper into that hole of all the regrets and the guilt and the shame and all the things that we should have done differently. And so just be aware of that. Depression has everything to do with past events. Shedding the old, I absolutely love those words, because we want to hang on to things even though we know it's not healthy for us. And we hang on to those past events and replay them over and over and over, thinking we should have done something different, when in fact we did what we knew how to do. And to live in the present moment thinking that things need to be different in order for me to be happy. So the past needed to be different in order for me to be happy right now. And that's a completely false statement. You can be happy right now regardless. And that is absolutely 100% a choice. The hair falling out is majority of the time is related to stress of some form. And it's it affects the what are they, the hair follicles in our scalp. It creates a situation where our hair starts falling out more. And that is like stress related 100%. And we can be stressed and not realize it. And we can be stressed and not realize it because we've been living in that state for so long that it's familiar and we don't even recognize it as being stressed.
True.
So those I feel are super important to understand. Then I'm going to go back to shedding the old. There are things, there are material things that I have in my home right now that I look at, they're hanging on my walls, and I look at them and I think, that's not me anymore. It's an old energy. It was something I needed back then. It was something I was attracted to back then. But what I have moved through and I have grown, and now my energy is different. Those things I'm hanging on to, material things I'm talking about, those material things that I'm hanging on to is an old energy. And so right now, there's a couple things you can do. One is you can, like in my instance, I have these things still hanging on my wall, but what I'm doing is making kind of like a visualization list. So I'm going on Amazon, I'm finding pictures of things. Amazon has a wish list. So I put it on my wish list, and then I can go back in there and just look at those things and go, okay, I'm going to bring these things to me, whether it's I receive it as a gift, whether it's I find it, whether I buy it, I receive the money to buy it. If I know how much it is, right? I need this amount of money to purchase this, so I can allow and receive the money to purchase it. So I'm just creating that wish list and visualizing what I want on my wall. The other thing you can do, or I could do if I wanted to, is to take all that stuff off the wall, and that opens up the space to be filled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are options in how you want. Honestly, I just don't want to see my walls empty right now. So I'm creating the wish list so I can focus on that and imagine that those things are hanging there. So
nice.
But there are some things that I did release. They weren't really easy because a lot of it was, I mean, they're just like pretty and beautiful or whatever, but it was the energy behind it that I didn't want to hang on to. I didn't want it in my home anymore. And so for me to release as a shedding of the old, shedding that old energy, I had to let it go.
Which is so funny because we started to start talking and I was like, I've got these freaking tins right here. There's like 6 or 7 of them that have labs on them. And it's like they're still in the package. They've been wrapped up like this. This is the first time they've been out probably in, I don't know, 7, 8 years, because they were in box because I was at a transition place and now I'm in a different space. So it's like now I recognize there's an attachment to the energy of that old. It was in an old house that Jim and I lived in. It was on the pot shelves. It was something. There's so much energy, old energy attached to that. So it is just a matter of releasing it. There's a few things that I wanted to talk about also, because as you were talking, so when we talk about depression, I didn't realize, but when I would always keep busy, or as I was going through a day, if something bothered me or irritated me or I didn't have control over, I would over clean. I mean, I'm focused on cleaning. To me, that's another form of depression. That's another way of not paying attention to how you feel. And my hair was like, my hair is almost like my inner being screaming out to me. Not that my inner being would do that, but it's like really trying to get my attention back into my attention, because I'm stuck onto something else. I'm
Let me
taking my,
just say this. Be thankful it's just your
okay,
hair, right?
yes, but
Because
I'm
it could
taking
be
my energy.
something much worse.
Yeah. Oh, it,
Okay.
it could, but that's the beginning parts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Then it's like, then you start worrying, then it's like, okay, God, it could be a pituitary thing. I mean, it could be a million different reasons if I wanted to dig deeper, but it's like, that's not the direction I want to put my energy into, because I know that I can fix how I feel now. I don't have to go into that space. And that's just all energy. It's all it is just, I don't want to waste my energy. It's just like myself is letting me know you're wasting your time in that space. You're giving energy to something that happened that you can't, there's no changing it, but there's a way for me to look at it differently so that I can grow beyond it. And there's a knowing that it will never be that way again, because I now see myself in a different way. I'm not going to carry that forward. And also doing all that stuff is the self-abuse. When you're constantly worrying, it's a pattern, and you're just abusing yourself. Like, you think you deserve to be abused. I apparently did, but it's just, I'm looking at it now. I'm aware of it now. Just another way of how we abuse ourselves. And what I was going to say too, there's no guarantee that if I had the same views right now and I was back in that same situation, that it's going to have an effect on that person, that it would have had an effect to change anything. It's like I've been putting so much into a situation that I'm so one-sided that there's no guarantee that anything I did could have made any difference in that other person. Would have made them change, because it's not my job to change anybody. It's my job to love unconditionally. But looking back now, I would tell you I wasn't in a space that I could see beyond anything where I was at then. I couldn't. It wasn't possible, or I would have. And that's a huge thing, just to be able to look at that for me and to acknowledge there's nothing that I could have done anything differently. It's just like, even going back, even if I could go back in time to the day before Jim had his heart attack and then had him go to the hospital, there's no guarantee that he wouldn't have died on the table. You know what I mean? We have no guarantees. We have no guarantees at going back. So it's like, all I can do is be right now. And when I'm right now, I'm great. Like, it's freaking awesome. So, now when I wander back, it's like abusive. It feels horrible, but it doesn't last as long. So I'm being easy on myself. And I'm recognizing a lot of stuff. And even while we're talking, I'm having a better understanding of things too, which feels so much like, I feel like I can just take a deep breath now.
Just so y'all know, these are therapy sessions for Bev and I. You just get to listen, just because we have our own breakthroughs when we have our conversations every week. So once a week, you can write this down. Once a week, at least, for a therapy session of some form is beneficial. And that's what really, Bev and I get that every single week when we have a conversation, especially when we ourselves are going through something and we start talking and we're talking out loud. That's when most breakthroughs happen, is when you're actually verbalizing it, because then you can hear yourself say it.
Yeah, you're not just stuck up in here, because when you get stuck up here, then you get on that freaking hamster wheel. Then it's like, you just feels like you can't get off it. But when we start talking about it, it's different. Then I start recognizing, what am I holding on to? I haven't cleaned out that house yet.
Oh,
I haven't finished that. It's like this is the third month. I mean, come on, seriously. But now, with us having this conversation, I'm ready to go in there and clear it out. I'm ready. I'm ready to close it up, finalize that area.
yep. And let me just say though, it's not a oh, just get rid of this stuff because of the energy. It's
Oh
a,
no, no.
how can I release this with love? How can I
Yeah,
pick up this item off the wall and go, wow, the memories that were created because I bought this, or because this picture was taken, or because this was a drawing of whatever, you know what? The memories are always within yourself, but there could be some energy, old energy attached to it that, yeah, you could clear that up for sure. You could sage, smudge, do a ceremony, whatever it is you want to do. But if you're hanging on to something specifically for the memories and it's going to just be in a box or something, that's not a healthy way to, that's like stuffing energy. And when you're
yeah,
stuffing the energy, now it's taking up space in a closet, in a room, in a box, in a storage unit. So that's still stuffing the energy. But if you're
yes,
going to, if there's something that you're hanging on to, but you know the energy of that, or the stories behind it, or the memories that are attached to that are more on an unhealthy basis, you you want to do a loving release. Release it with love. The memories that are attached to this, I recognize were unhealthy, but I still appreciate those experiences because they still help me learn and grow. I learned about myself. This person was my teacher because, fill in the blank, whatever you can do to say, I, it will go back to the video we had before. I love you, but I love myself more. And I love myself more knowing I cannot hang on to this energy anymore. And I lovingly release it. It's not just a throw it away because you're angry and pissed, because you're going to still be hanging on to it within yourself through that anger and being pissed. You're still
that's
hanging
true.
on to it. You're not shedding those layers that you've been stuffing. Yes, you're expressing the anger, and feels, it may feel good to maybe throw that article or that material thing, like seriously, like throw it into the trash with that force of anger, but you have to include the healing portion of it as well, whether you do it in that moment or you sit down later, sooner than later, and do some journaling or writing, or doing something to move that out of your body.
Yeah.
That, does that make sense? Oh, I'm just talking.
No, no, it makes sense because it's been a while ago, but you had said that you had cleared out your closet. You know, you were going through your closet and recognizing there's things that we have in there that we haven't worn forever, but somebody else could be appreciating it. And then something that just hit my mind, because there's a dress that I've held on to because I think that was like a beautiful day. I enjoyed that day, but it's like I'm not that same person anymore. Why am I still holding on to this? Am I going to ever wear it again? No, I'm not. But that's almost like holding on to the past, like thinking you're not, like that you're not good enough now, or you're not as pretty. Because how many times all of us probably have looked back at pictures and said, God, I looked so good back then. What was my problem? Or whatever, or maybe we felt, we're looking back at a memory and how we felt, but it's like, it doesn't mean that we're any less than now. We're freaking more now. We're so much more better.
More better.
That's right. We were, but it's like it just helps me recognize how much we hold on to stuff because of a like you said, it's like of a memory. But I remember you saying specifically, cleaning out the closet. Why am I holding on to these things when someone else could actually enjoy it? Why am I holding on to these tins when someone else could actually enjoy them in their house? Honestly. So
Yeah.
it's just, and that's, to me, that feels good. That's a feel good. That's a one of the ways that you could turn it around and be like, I'm not releasing this because I just don't want the shitty energy in my house. Not that it is, but as an example, but I'm releasing it because someone else could appreciate it so much more than me because I haven't been appreciated. Right now, they're still wrapped in bubble wrap. So, like I said, they've been wrapped up for a long time. So,
Yeah. And
so
and
that'll be still sold.
and to think that the person who created that stuff, who created those pictures, they create them, that is their expression of joy. And then the intent to me from a artist's perspective, and anyway, from an artist's perspective would be somebody's going to purchase this and enjoy it as much or more than I am. But then we purchase it and then we decide for whatever reason, however life unfolds, that they need to be put away. They need to be wrapped up, put away, whether again, closet, the corner of a bedroom, in a storage unit, and nobody's enjoying them.
Mm-mm.
When how many dog lovers are out there? How many Labrador lovers are out there? How many pet owners are out, right? And how many of
Yeah.
these people would just thoroughly enjoy those works of art that you have, and you are holding on to it?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's something. Is it always easy to do that process? For me, no, it wasn't. But I would sit with something and I'd be like, okay, I really like this. Okay, let's just say article of clothing that's too small. I really like this dress. How soon do I think I'm going to get into this dress with the way I am living now? Well, it's probably going to be 6 months, a year. I don't know, right? Well, in the meantime, it's just hanging in my closet. So, is it a benefit to me for it to hang in my closet? For some people, it may be a motivation for them to reduce their size. Or would this give me more pleasure knowing that if I get rid of it in whatever fashion I choose to do that, that somebody else could enjoy it instead of it still hanging in my closet for 6 months to a year? And it creates space in my closet. So when my size changes, I get to go shopping, right? I get
That's
to go
right.
have some fun and play. If you like shopping, I do. But now it opens up a hanger in my closet for something else to come in, even if it's while I'm at the size I'm at.
Exactly.
So another beautiful piece of clothing can come into my experience and take that space. And then as my size changes, I create space on those hangers and then they can get filled up. If it's already filled up, there's no space for new.
That's right. You're not allowing new energy to come in or holding on to broken things. How many times do we hold on to things that are broken because we're going to fix it? In a feng shui mentality, or because there's a lot to clearing your energy or releasing, but it's like get rid of those things that are broken, because that's such a representation to your life, your current existence, when you're holding on to broken things. And it's like letting go of it, getting rid of it, and then you're surprised by how things show up.
Well,
And they do.
it's a representation that your life is broken. We don't
Exactly.
realize that. It's learning more and more and more about energy. When you're holding on to broken things, you're saying, one, there's a lack of money for me to go buy a new one. Two, my life, because of my upbringing, I need to fix this. Three, I have a lack of time. I don't have time to fix it, but I can't get rid of it because I got to fix it because I don't have enough money to go buy something. See, it's just this, like Bev was saying, that's just another hamster wheel that we're keeping ourselves stuck in, this energy of broken things. And I've done that too. I've like, oh, I'm going to fix this, or I'm going to do this with this. And then 3, 4, 5 years later, it's still there. And now it has dust on it. And then it's like, yeah, right. And I have to go, okay, it's been this long. Are you really going to do anything with this?
Mm-hmm.
And 9.999% of the time, the answer is no. I am not going to do anything with it. I am not going to fix it. I'm spending my time and energy focused in a direction that I have to keep moving in. And this is not, honestly, I have to be honest with myself. This broken piece is not that important to me.
Or it would have already been fixed.
Exactly. Right. The other thing I want to say is, because I just saw this not too long ago, is that I think it's Japan, that if let's say a cup breaks, there are artists that they will take those broken pieces and then they will put it together with a gold filling. And that is their artistic work. And so they've taken that something that's not that valuable and created to be more valuable by putting this gold, I'm going to say glue. It's not glue, but this gold glue in it to get it pieced back together. And they were saying how, I mean, that's a meticulous, detailed, patient art ability. And if you got time to do that, you go right ahead, my friends. I do not. But I thought that was pretty amazing. I mean, there's a whole growth and expansion from that process, taking something broken and we see it broken. So you could say your past, you see your past as broken, like it should have been different. And you take this broken thing and then you put it back together with more valuable material. Well, the value is you learn from the past and now it's more valuable to you because it happened and you're grateful for the experience.
Yes. If we take the time to be in the now all the time, when we look at those things that are broken, we would recognize, how does that feel? Because I'll tell you, for me, that never feels good. It never feels good to put your energy like, oh, and then whatever memory is attached to. But it's like, how often do we do things on a regular basis that are like that? And then we, like you said before, we're basically stuffing, we're putting it aside, we're holding on to it, holding on to stuff in our body, keeping broken parts that aren't necessary when we can just let it go, so new stuff can come in. It has everything to do with energy. I think it was a secret. I don't know if it was the book or the movie, but how the one woman was talking about how you want love in your life or whatever. It's like, where are you sleeping at on your bed? If you're single and you're sleeping in the middle of the bed, are you bringing in or creating space for someone else to be in? If your master closet's completely full of all your stuff, are you creating space for some? I mean, and it doesn't have to be a relationship, but it's just like you said, it's like we're letting go of something, allows something new to come into that space. I would hold on to freaking pants because for me, it's hard. It's not always easy to find pants in my length. So I'll be like, I'll get those fixed.
That was your belief, though. That was your belief.
That was my belief. And then it's like, then I just threw them all away. I just threw them all away. It's like, it's not doing me any good. And I'm aware that if I get rid of that stuff, if I let go of that energy, I'm allowing new energy to come in. I'm allowing new pants to come in because it'll just land in your lap, just like your vision board that you're creating through Amazon. You're creating this huge vision board, and it's awesome because you can do all that, you can have all that stuff. That's another way of having our digital vision board, is having these things set into your wish list and being aware of that stuff and letting it go. I have a client friend, she's actually a very good friend. She says, if I'm sitting at my home and I'm looking around the house, and she says, if my eye rests on something and I don't enjoy it, I get rid of it. And that's such a huge thing to do because we don't, and that's again, paying attention to energy, paying attention to how do we feel. When you look at something, oh yeah, well, such and such gave that to me, or any of those kind of thoughts, and it's like, that's not the best reason to hold on to it. Maybe it's shifting it to another space in the house, or maybe it's giving to someone because they just like you have it on your vision board. You don't know how it's going to come in, but all of a sudden it just shows up and it's handed to you. It happens all the time.
Yep.
These things happen all the time. And that's, again, willing to pull that picture off and to create the space, or just being willing to let go. Just being willing to let go, because then you've already seen this stuff on your wall, and someone's going to say, oh man, I wish I had a dream catcher, or, I've been really wanting one of those for a long time. And I'm not saying that you're going to get rid of your dream catcher, but then
I was like, oh, what do you?
Yeah. But then it's like, well, I've got one. You know what I mean? It's like you just have those conversations are open to happen now because you're willing to let something go, and that person comes forward, and we vocalize because we start talking about it out loud, not even realizing all along we're manifesting, we're creating. That's how wonderful energy is. But this is a positive aspect to it. My stuff was put into a box because I had to move out of a house because we had lost the house, and I was I was like, wow, what's the problem? Like, Jim, just let the house go. I mean, we don't have a choice. We just gotta let it go. But here I am holding on to freaking pictures that have been inside of a box forever. So it's also recognizing how people mirror our stuff. Because we talk about that stuff all the time. And it's like, a lot of times when we're not ready to look at it, we'll be like, whatever. I don't have that. I don't have that problem, or I don't do that until you recognize that you do that. It's
Yep.
just in a different, it's just in a different form. We all mirror each other, positive, negative, however, I mean, if you want to call it positive, negative, doesn't matter, but there's a constant mirror going on, mirroring,
Yeah.
constant
Um,
possible growth.
and just to hit on what you're saying, I had a professional lady come in who does feng shui, had her come
Mhm.
into my house, and that is what she would walk up to something in my house. She would be drawn to it for whether it felt good to her or didn't feel good to her. It didn't matter. She was drawn to something into my house, and she would point at it and she goes, "Do you love this?" And then my inner being going, "Oh my God, is it wrong to have that in my house?" Yeah, I'm not good enough because I don't have the right things in my house. That was the story that immediately would come into my head, and my being like I was being tested and I had to give her the right answer. And it took me a few times of her doing that to realize she is genuinely asking me, "Do I love this? If this is in your home, do you love it being in your home?" And there were some things she pointed at, and I looked at it, I'm like, "No, I don't." She said, "Then get rid of it." It was that simple. So again, and this was about 2 years ago. So it was still being in that space of having somebody outside of myself give me permission to do something. But what she did first was let me see it differently.
Yes,
And I was like, it just opened up my world in when I view something and want to bring it into my space.
makes perfect sense.
It was a great process for me. I loved it. I really did. Because now when I look at something, even if, like I said, I'll just be sitting in my living room and look at this picture on the wall. I'm just like, that needs to go, and it needs to be replaced. I mean, I say need because it just is not me anymore. It's time for it to be released. So I'm visualizing something else there, and it's because I don't love it anymore. And majority, be honest with you, like you were saying, if somebody gives you something, a majority of the stuff that I have hanging in my house, somebody else gave it to me. And they were like, it's that thing, you say, "Oh, I love," I'm gonna say, please don't gift me elephants and stuff. But if I say, if somebody knows, well, like Bev loves butterflies. So,
Angels, yeah.
everybody knows Bev loves butterflies. What do you think she gets? Everything butterfly. I'm guilty of it. I gave her something that's butterflies,
I
but
like it.
you get everything butterflies. And so at some point, when is that an overload? One, because everybody's buying you that. And then two is you you may go through a transition in your life where you're like, "Yeah, I love butterflies, but I don't need 1,000 things butterflies around me anymore.
Because
Maybe
we
I only need
transform.
a
Yeah,
handful." you know
yeah.
So we keep evolving in our energy, in our thought process, in what we like in our space, and it's okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. That's a normal evolution. I
Yep.
love Labradors. I do. I still love them, but it's not. I'm not in that same space anymore. I'm no longer that same person anymore, and that's fine. It's like consistently. I love angels and butterflies. So, I mean, that's been for years and years, and angels have been
Yeah.
forever. So it's like I totally. I mean, who knows? Maybe at some point, but I don't see the angels ever.
Yeah.
The butterflies, because they represent transformation, right? Because you go from the cocoon to the butterfly, or from the worm to the butterfly, and you're, and even in that rest phase before you bloom out.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like it's such a representation. But I could probably see at some points, honestly, that I would be beyond that part because that's just been the process I've been in. So it's recognizing that that was that. Well, that's such a huge thing. That's such a huge demonstration of where I was at.
And it could be, I mean, yeah, the butterfly is an amazing analogy of our own personal growth. And I mean, we're growing all the time. And I'm not trying to change your mind about butterflies, but what I'm saying is you may get to a point in your life. It could be tomorrow, it could be
Yeah.
10, 15, 20 years from now that you go, the butterflies, the representation of the butterfly has served me so well. I have been surrounded by them in my massage room, in my home, everywhere I go, there's butterflies, and it's been just an amazing representation of my growth. But I feel like as much as I have grown, I don't need to feel like I need them around me constantly. Right.
Exactly.
So there's that's what I'm talking about is a transition when changing your energy that okay, the butterfly was a great representation through that whole process of my life and my transitions and my growth. And now that I have my wings and flying, maybe now I'm attracted to the eagle because the eagle flies higher. Right.
Exactly.
So that's just an example of an evolution of your interests and the representation of things. So for me, it's always been since I was young is big cats. Like I like house cats. If they didn't shed, I would probably own some, but I don't. And I don't like the hairless cats, so I'm not going there. So just but big cats. And one of my dreams would be to own like a black panther. I just thought that would be the coolest thing. So pictures of big cats is what I've had, or figurines, all gifted to me. I had an interest, they were all gifted to me. And I just think that, or I know in my heart that they're totem animals for me and protectors and you know, that courage and strength and fierce and all in a good way. And I needed to be not knowing this at the time, but I needed to be surrounded by that through my time of growth. And those are the things that are hanging on my wall now that I'm like, I can have a picture here or there, or a figurine here and there, but I don't need them plastered all over my walls now. So that's my evolution process right now.
Which would almost represent you recognize that you are strong, powerful, and you're quiet. Fierce.
Fierce meaning like confident. I equate fierce with being confident, because the confidence is not something I've had. I acted like I had it, but inside I was a mess. Like
yes.
So yeah.
I get that. You know, I had something crazy happen to me. It was last week. It was I think it was Wednesday night actually. But I was going to bed, and it was crazy to me because I never had heard it before. But I was just laying down. I hadn't even gone to sleep. I got my earplugs in because I like to have earplugs in because that way I'm just more into myself and I'm not being distracted by outward sounds or anything. And I heard this deep guttural growling, like it sounded like a big, huge animal, a huge wolf. And it sounded like two of them. And then I heard a little bit of a banging around, and it's like I pulled my plugs out real quick, and I'm like sitting up, and I'm like listening. There's nothing, no sounds. The dogs aren't doing anything. I lay back down, put the plugs back in, and I hear the growling again. And then it was gone. It was just that fast, but it was so intense that I thought something was going on. You know, I thought maybe, and I'm thinking, gosh, the only way the dogs would do that is maybe they were to do that guttural sound, that deep sound would be as if someone was like there was a threat or something like that. But it was just a strange. I've never heard it again.
You said it sounded like two?
It sounded like two.
So here, the immediate thing that came to me was the two wolves inside.
which someone told me the same story the following day, but go ahead and say it because so
Yeah.
people
So
can
the
hear it.
two wolves inside, you have what we call the good wolf and the bad wolf, and which one's going to survive is going to be the one that feeds itself. But for you, what came to mind was you said just recently you've had a lot of like stuff come up about regrets and past stuff that the good wolf is growling at the negative one saying, not now. It's not, we're done with that, right? It's the good wolf protecting you from the bad wolf, if that makes sense. But
It does, because in my dreams, so that night, my dreams were about jealousy,
mm.
like, and recognizing that I was jealous or I wasn't good enough or I wasn't worthy and whatever it was, but it was along those lines the whole night. So, and I feel like a lot of times in our dreams, that stuff comes forward just to kind of for its own healing, and some of the stuff may not have even been my stuff. Some of those feelings may have been feelings maybe my mom, because as far as I know, my biological father was very not faithful at all. Like he could go to the gas station and hook up with the girl there. I mean, it was constant all the time. So I could see that, and she was young, of course, but me picking up on those energies, which is a whole nother conversation. But recognizing, but it's like even the people around you, and then how those it's allowing that feeling to keep going and going on that hamster wheel forever, and it picks up momentum. Because I mean, it's just a crazy thing. Because to me, that jealousy is like I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy enough. There's something wrong with me that someone else could be so much better, or it's just such a crazy thing. But that was the dreams that I had that night, and waking up the morning. I'm telling you, I don't know what the hell is going on these days, but there's like so much growth going on. It's like ever since I was going through growth before Jim had passed, but when he passed, it was like a fast forward. And it's like ever since then, I feel like I mean, maybe this really is the age of Aquarius that they talk about, because it's like it's such a fast forward to everything. And then recognizing on the positive thing for all of that is recognizing I'm able to hear things spiritually. I've been seeing them. I've picked up smells. I have more control. I mean, I have control in all my dreams, so I'm controlling things, or analyzing or questioning things. There's just so much. There's been such growth. It's just blows my mind. My intuition's like been, and it's because I've slowed down probably, but my intuition's been like a constant where I see it.
My input on that, and this is a great example of releasing old energy, and I don't mean this in a bad way, or I mean, Jim was a wonderful person, he had an amazing
Oh
heart,
yes,
but the experiences that you were having with him took so much time, attention, and energy that you weren't able, even those gifts were already there. They've been there forever,
yes,
but
yes,
your attention to them was not there. Your attention
yes.
was to what was going on in your personal life of struggle, if you will, and learning the process of what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and having to make decisions for your well-being, for your emotional and mental and spiritual well-being, and that all pertains to physical as well. But as long as your attention was on that, none of this other stuff could blossom. So in retrospect, the blessings that have come by his passing for you to step into, you, you got to fill your attention, your energy with something now, because it's not over here anymore on the relationship. Now it's on what, like, you get to choose where now. What am I going to get? Like, if you have, everybody has 24 hours in a day, and you're giving, I don't know, let's say you get 7 hours of sleep, so that's 17 hours in the day, and probably 98% of that day was focused on the relationship. Well, now you have 98% of this time available to you, and now you're like, what do I do at this time? Well, I'm going to read these books, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to get more in tune with myself, I'm going to start paying attention to my body even more, right? And so you're
Yes.
starting to fill up with that, because the relationship has now been released.
Yeah. And to me, it's like being jealous that I wasn't giving myself that attention. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yep.
and you're 100% right. Because it's so interesting when we're in relationships sometimes, and especially at that time, I would say I devoted so much time, like I knew exactly when behaviors would change. I knew exactly why they were changing. I mean, I knew all those things. I didn't know shit about me,
Right.
nothing. So, I mean, really, and since he has passed, and you're right, all these gifts have always been there, but I couldn't see them because I was too focused on everything outside of myself and not focused on self,
And
and not in a
everything quote
selfish way.
unquote that was wrong.
Exactly. Oh yeah, all the time. I don't know if it was you. Actually, I think it's Freeman will say we have a tendency to worry. We just want to focus on worry. We're in a place that I think we're in such a habit or a routine, a lot of people, that all we do is worry about things. We try to find things to worry about. And I've noticed that, like, okay, so I don't have that relationship to worry about. Oh, now I'm worrying about the hair. I mean, the hair was the thing back then, but as an example, now the worry's taken here. Instead of just saying, what can I see? And it's just giving myself attention, knowing that I am worthy, knowing that I appreciate me.
Well, when I have to take the part about worry, what comes up for me is that um, especially fixers need something to fix. We need
Mhm.
somebody to fix. We need a situation to fix. So if we're worrying about something, then that gives us the opportunity to fix something.
Yeah. Waste of energy. Oh my Lord.
Because 99.999% of the things that we want to fix has to do with other people, and it's none of your damn business.
Right. Because that's their path, their journey.
Exactly. So took
But
me a while to learn that one.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I had a school of hard knocks, even then when it boils down to the kids, thinking that that your idea or your decision or what your belief is right, and not allowing them their growth, trying to, and it's like I had done it, but now I recognize it in others when they're trying to do it with their own kids. It's like at one point I stepped back. I mean, I just had to step back, and they're doing great. I mean, I did
Yep.
my part.
Yep.
So it's an awesome thing. It's an awesome thing, but it's pretty crazy how it shows up in your life, how you recognize letting go of that control, just letting go.
Oh man, control's a whole podcast. I think we've done a thing on control before. Um, I want to talk about though past experiences. So one question that usually comes up a lot for people. I mean, it comes up to me, I think it comes up more when you're older, when you get past 50 or so, is that, people will ask the question, if you could do it all over again, would you go back and do it differently? Some people say yes because of the experiences they had, and other people say no because they love their life. Other people are on the fence. But I heard one person say, and here's the thing, is that all the experiences that I've had and that Bev has had in her life, in our lives, that it brought us together to do this and bring forth our information and wisdom to share with you. But I heard a teacher say just recently, not too long ago, that it's not that I would do it different, or that I would, it was not that I would do it different. I would just do it sooner. So
Yeah,
basically, I would be a failure and a fuck up sooner, get it all done so that I have more time in my life to really grow and expand
yeah,
faster, right?
yeah,
So I thought that was a great answer, because I thought, man, that would be so true for me. Like, it wasn't until I'm 50 now, and it wasn't until my early 40s, like things really popped for me. And I had started learning about this in my early 30s. So 10 years to grow. I'm like, 10 years of my life I've been spending trying to move in a different direction and create all these different belief systems. And it's like, man, if I would have started or way earlier, just getting, growing from the whole I'm not good enough story, knowing that I'm already loved and accepted, like, just I would have done it sooner.
yeah. And you say sooner, and my mind just says I wouldn't have spent as much time in those spaces. I
Exactly.
spent and it's the same thing, but it's like I wouldn't have spent as much time, and you think about that statement, I wouldn't have spent as much energy in that space, because there was some, but that's back to the fixer, right? I wouldn't have spent that much time in that. I wouldn't have given so much energy in that place, because I would have realized I wasn't there to fix it. It was like, what about me?
Yep. I would
The
have
whole
learned
time. I
so
just wouldn't have spent.
I would have learned about myself
Yeah,
so much sooner.
yeah, which is huge. And we are
Absolutely.
helping, because so we go back to the ancestors and all that stuff. We're like you said before, we've talked about this stuff, how it heals all that stuff in the past. Like it does heal, there is an effect that happens, and it heals everything from us down, our kids and our grandkids and the people that are around us, how it affects everybody. Such a small, what appears to be such a small, minuscule thing has such a huge effect, because it trickles down to everybody.
Yeah, and it's a healing, it's a forgiveness process and healing on all of our parts for the past, this life and before. Our ancestors, you know, all the events that had taken place before our current existence, like just sitting and, I forgive so and so for having slaves. I forgive so and so for leading us in through a war. I forgive, it's just for forgiveness is so huge. It clears up so much energy. And yeah, you're affecting so much, because it's said that all that ever was, all that is, and all that ever will be is now. And
Yes,
when we sit in the now and, forgive and heal those layers that already have been, we're affecting our present moment in our own healing process and emanating that energy, which affects future generations. So when you're doing healing, it is not just about you and right now. It's about all that was, all that is, and all that ever will be. All, all, okay, all.
yes.
Keyword.
And it's not just, you don't just forgive the one time either, because even this morning, and that was something I neglected to say, so I'm glad you brought it up, but it was one of the things, it's like regret and guilt. It's like, I'm sorry, Jim, please forgive me. And I forgive you, but then I
you
forgive
know,
myself.
he already did that as soon as he left his body. It was
Yeah,
done. For him,
but
it was
those are,
done.
yeah, but it's my unresolved to that energy. So the more that we do that, it's just, you just release yourself from that stuff. You don't have to be in that space anymore. Just like I was saying, I don't have to spend time in that space anymore. I don't have to. It's a choice. It's always
Yeah,
been a choice.
it's still, when you spend the time in it, of
Yes,
the resentments or guilts or shames, when you spend the time in it, that's on you.
it is.
That's all you. Has nothing to do with him.
Nope. That's been a huge recognition since he passed, because it's like I realized all this stuff wasn't him. It was how I was holding on to it, how I was seeing it, how I was perceiving it, how I was spending my time, where I was sending my energy, which wasn't right now, which is freaking depressing, depressing, because that's just another form of depression.
But also made you recognize that how important and valuable your time and energy is. Like
Yeah,
you are a great example for all of us, a great teacher for all of us, of recognizing, like, you were giving so much time and attention and energy to what was wrong, quote unquote wrong. I
yes,
don't think it was wrong, but quote
perceiving.
unquote that you were observing as wrong in the relationship, instead of spending the time in developing your gifts. And now that you had, like, it takes a traumatic experience most of the time to get our attention to make a change. That happened, and now it's moved you more in the direction of opening yourself up to your spiritual guidance, that you know the difference now. You
Yes,
know what it feels like to give your attention to something that is energy draining compared to something that raises your energy. And so that's a huge discernment for you based on the experience that you've had.
Yes.
Thank you for being our teacher.
Everybody's a teacher and everybody's a student.
You say, "You're welcome, bitches."
You're welcome. No, it's just it's definitely an interesting journey, really.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And the more we can do, more healing we can do now, the more it's going to affect lives to come. I honestly was one of those people. I was in such a space of when I started learning about past lives and that we get to choose to come back again. I was like, hail to the no, this is my last life. I can't even imagine having to come back and do another life. And because I was just in that space.
Yeah.
Of hating life. I hated life. And the more I grow and expand and know, this is a total belief on my part. So whether you have this, not necessarily Bev, but the audience, if you have a belief different than mine, that's okay. We can agree to disagree, but I know it feels good to me. But knowing all the work I'm doing in this life, you're damn right I'm ready for my next one, because the next one's going to be even better.
That's right. And we're guides.
Do what?
And we're guides. Like all this experience, we get to help. I mean, we're helping so many people around us and then some.
Yeah.
So huge. It's exciting.
It is. The older I get and the more I grow, the more excited I am. So either I'm going to be somebody's awesome kick-ass guide, or I'm going to come back into my next life. So just saying.
Oh, I'll be back. I'll be back.
I might spend some time haunting some people first, but you know.
No, just for good measure.
That might be fun for a while.
Yeah, it might be. Well, you think about it because it's like it brings, you even think about it in your experience that you've had recently, how it's affected, a father, a daughter, and how all that information has traveled, and how your prayers and spirit and everything else has come forward to let them know, like, hey, this is for real. Like this stuff's happening. It brought it into their experience. Like, yeah, I'll haunt the hell out of a lot of people. I'm gonna bounce them forward.
Yep. And another great lesson that's coming out of that experience, just real quick, is because we talked about control earlier, just real quick, is you're talking about a daughter who is controlling, and she's learning very quickly she's not in control of anybody, like anybody. And her dad is being a great, amazing teacher for her for that right now.
Well, initially, maybe both those parents were the controllers, right? Because we learn it somewhere.
Oh yeah, he was, for sure.
So it's such a huge growth that we have. What an amazing journey that is, to go they were teachers then, they were still teachers, but now it's like it's a different way. Now it's she's getting so much of a gift from all that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Just like we all do. Like everything is such a gift, such a wonderful thing. To me, all the things that we've talked about, you talked about last week too, about that what's come forward for them is just, those are such amazing gifts. Like so glorious. That's the best thing I can think of. It's an amazing confirmation.
Yeah.
There's much more.
And I'm coaching her through it and helping her navigate her emotions and her thought processes through her having to make decisions, not having to make decisions, but having to talk to her dad about making decisions. And she wants him to make the decisions that she sees as right. And I'm like, no, this is his life. This is his journey. You have to honor his decisions.
Yes.
And this is not in your control, sister. This is not your control. And so she is learning a great deal from this whole, and I am too. I mean, I'm getting so many confirmations. It's freaking phenomenal. And I'm just, I hate, I don't like the word hate, but I don't like that it's at the expense of somebody else's health.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you just mentioned, is how much growth and shifting of energy is happening, not only for me, but for the daughter, for the husband, how it's going to affect her relationship with her husband and children and probably grandchildren, just there we go, generations to come.
Yes.
So it's teaching her a lot about, I mean, I've already had my lessons in control. Right now I'm going through a releasing of old energy about somebody having quote unquote control over me, and going through that process of journaling and burning for it. And it's like, but I'm not giving the attention of panic and worry and anxiety about somebody quote unquote having control over me. I'm just like, first of all, karma's a bitch. I know it comes back around. So whatever you put out, you're going to get back. I know good things. This is my affirmation for myself every single day, is goodness is the natural state of my vibrational flow. So I know only good things can come my way, and trust the process. Like, this is a process for me to learn and grow, to appreciate the teacher who is teaching me about control and how I'm viewing it, and be able to release that, shedding the old energy with love. Thank you for being my teacher, because I got to fill in that blank. But as I release that with old, I'm focused in a different direction of where I'm going. So that doesn't consume my time and energy and attention. Where I'm going does. Shedding the old.
Yes.
And it's okay.
It's true. It's the death of the old, right? It's the 9 number. It's the death card. There's so many different things, different ways of looking at it. It's endings for new beginnings. It's just like the whole process of winter, how everything dies off for new blooms to come forward. There's so many gifts. Endings are, I mean, because we can look at life as an ending, but it's a never ending thing. There's no ending to us. So there's like a constant growth. There's always a constant growth. And it's just looking at the whole process for that, looking at it, the bigger picture was that there's growth in that whole family that came from you and to you, and that you've put out, that it's came to me, and now it's going from me to others too. So it's like, it's such an amazing, that's the bigger picture. It's not that the person, is faced with a life crisis or a death or any of that stuff. There's such a bigger picture to it.
Yep. And I call in Archangel Uriel every single day to help remind me that there's a bigger pigger in life in general, just in my life, but how much my life is affecting other people's lives, that there's a bigger picture going on here than I can't even imagine what it is. I mean, that my mind wouldn't even be able to handle it. That's how big the picture is.
Yes.
And I'm playing my part. So it's all good.
Awesome.
Wow. I love that conversation. It was an amazing conversation today. I so appreciate our time together, and how we grow through this process, and the benefit that we're bringing forth for other people. So we would love to hear from our audience, to let us know how are our conversations affecting your life? Are they helping you, and in what ways? And the opposite is true. If you have something else to say about our conversations, you have that right, and you have that right to express it. So we would love to hear from you, and so you can leave your questions or comments in the comments below. And we also, Bev and I, we just have conversations. It's never planned, ever. We have not planned one conversation in almost our year together in doing this. And so if there is a topic or clarity that you want in anything that we have talked about, then you can for sure submit that to us, and we would be more than happy to talk about it. And you can do that either in the comments or email us. Amie, A-M-I-E, and you have to spell it out, A-N-D, Bev at gmail.com. Amie and Bev at gmail.com. So thank you, Miss Bev, for being here. Love having
Thank
this
you.
time together.
Me too.
I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday. I do that every like Tuesday night. I'm like, oh, tomorrow's Wednesday. Oh, good. We have tea time.
It's exciting because there's so much that we get to talk about and we see and change, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love all of it. So, all right, my friends, thank you for hanging out. Tea time with Amie and Bev, and we will see you next week.
Thank you. Have a wonderful week.